In this video, we're going to take a look at ATN's ThOR LTV 4-12 thermal scope. Gavin here from UltimateReloader.com. Around here, it's coyote hunting season, and that means it's time for me to up my game with a thermal scope. What I've got here is ATN's ThOR LTV 4-12 scope. I am super excited about night hunting for coyote, and this is the rifle that we're going to use. This is the 6-arc barreled action. I changed stocks recently. I've put it in this Axis Precision Works Carbon X stock. I took the internal weights out to kind of have not too heavy, not too light configuration. We're running 6-arc, which should be great for coyote hunting, and this rifle platform should be awesome for that purpose. This scope we just reviewed recently. This is the F.A.T 5, which builds on the capabilities of the F.A.T Pro 4K. We included some night footage with reflective infrared. So that's a story that's definitely worth checking out in itself. But for this story, we're focused on the ThOR LTV. So I'm going to put the rifle aside. We'll get the contents of the box out and see what's included. Okay, so with this package, we're keeping it simple. We've got the scope itself, we've got the telescoping hood assembly, which is great to control light expulsion, see the display, the owner's manual, USB-C power cord. This is really cool. It's a scope cover, and it was also a part of the packaging for the scope that protects it during shipping. And then inside, we've got this pouch here for charging cable or whatever else that you want to put there with it. Okay, so a very simple package and setup. I've got some cool new tools to show you from Wheeler as a part of the install. We're going to do that next. So this is going to be more of a scope swap than a scope install, because I'm going to leave these rings on the action and I'm just going to take the caps off to swap the scopes. These are Athlon rings. They work really good. We're going to take our T15 Torx bit and our F.A.T wrench. This is a part of the new set. This is the professional F.A.T wrench screwdriver set from Wheeler. It's kind of nice because it has nut drivers, it has a bunch of different bits, makes for a really easy install of scopes. And then I've also got the Wheeler Precision Level Kit, and we're going to use that right on the body of the LTV to get it level on the rifle, and we will pre-level the Picatinny rail. Okay, so I'm going to loosen these T15 screws, get things swapped over. Okay, so now that things are tightened down finger tight and we've got even ring gaps on either side, I'm going to go ahead and do my cross torque pattern here. We'll get things tightened down to 18 inch-pounds. Okay, so the scope is installed and level. It's time to charge it up. In the meantime, let's talk features and specs. Okay, so I've had a chance to use the scope in the field just a bit. I got it on paper at 50 yards by using a hand warmer and some cardboard, and that gave me a basic level of familiarity with the scope. Now, I already talked briefly about the scope install. I did notice after mounting the scope with those low rings that I didn't have sufficient bolt clearance for this large diameter eyepiece. So I've switched to a different set of rings. It's elevated a little bit, and here, this scope, just as a quick note, does not have Wi-Fi, so it doesn't have the connected companion app experiences like the streaming of what you see. We're using here the optics test rig, which we normally use to test traditional optics, analog optics. Here we can see on the screen what I see when I look through the scope. That's one of the full color modes there. Okay, let's talk features and specs, and then we'll get into some of these menus. Okay, so there's multiple black hot and white hot color modes. This, as I mentioned, is a kind of one of those full color schemes. I kind of like this look. It's the traditional thermal camera look. But you can have a green color scheme, white hot, black hot. You can have a monochrome, white hot, black hot color scheme. There's a lot of different options here that you can quickly switch between. So that's nice because you can cater it to your preferences. It has the video recording built in, 4 to 64 gigabyte capacity for the SD card. It comes in at 1.4 pounds. It's a nice compact form factor, all good stuff. So running through some of the specs, the objective lens is 25 millimeter. The resolution of the thermal sensor is 320 by 240. Effective magnification is 4 power to 12 power. Field of view is 8.8 degrees wide and 6.6 degrees high. Display resolution, when you look through the scope, is 1280 by 720. Eye relief is 90 millimeters. The record resolution is the same as the display resolution, which is 1280 by 720, 720p, which is actually really great. Given the lower resolution of a thermal sensor, you don't need as much video recording resolution. That means less space taken up on your cards, easier to edit in post-production, all sorts of good things. Has a 3D accelerometer. That's going to give you the tilt indication, that kind of stuff. It has, again, white hot and black hot color modes, multiple reticle patterns, which I'll show you in just a moment, and USB Type-C. This is another nice benefit of this scope for charging. USB-C has become the standard. Even Apple moved over to USB-C. They ditched that lightning connector. So I'm always looking for that in consumer electronics because that's kind of what we've standardized on for cables and charging. 30 millimeter tubes, so these are 30 millimeter rings. Here it's weather resistant. Human detection range is 910 meters. Human recognition range is 455 meters. And human identification range is 290 meters. So it gives you an idea of how far your effective distance is for using the scope. It's 11.5 inches long, 2.2 inches wide, and 2.2 inches high. Again, weight is 1.4 pounds. It comes with a 3-year warranty, and country of origin is USA. So let's take a look through the scope and take a look at some of the menus and that kind of thing. So first, I'm going to just go ahead and focus this. So I had this, focused for 50 yards. Look at how much detail there is. This is literally so cool. Okay, now the center button is what you're going to use to activate the menus. It's got center, left, right, up and down for the basic D-pad, and then there's also the power button over there on the side. So if I hold the center button, that's going to activate the menus. You can see at the top there, we select the main menu that we want. So for thermal, for instance, when we hit the center again, we can change the contrast, sensitivity, turn on and off auto NUC, which is a mode where it periodically captures a frame, analyzes it, and adjusts the thermal settings to, it's kind of like auto exposure in a way to give you the best image. Color palettes, this is kind of a fun one, so you can go in up and down, green hot, white hot, different color modes. So if I put my hand over here, you're gonna see there's kind of a green hot, that is red with black hot, red with white hot type effect. This is the monochrome black hot, monochrome white hot. Lots of different modes here that show kind of the different effects. This is kind of the one I like here because it kind of makes things that are hot look like they're on fire, kind of a cool look. Anyways, that's a matter of personal preference. So if we center button is going to select that, we go back to the main menu, and then we can go back up to the top here to go to zeroing. So when you select the zeroing menu, you take a shot, and then you hold the scope so that it's still lined up with where you were shooting your point of aim, and then you move the cross over to where the shots hit enter. It's called the one-shot zero. It works really good. You might have to do it 2 times, maybe 3, depending on the level of precision that you're after. But if you can get a really good read on where you're aiming and where those shots landed, it definitely works really good. So center press confirms that. Different reticle styles that we can go through. So if we go up and down, you can see there that changes the actual style of the reticle. And then we can go left and right to get different colors. Different options might depend on which color palette you've selected as to which is going to show up best and which is going to look good. Center press there confirms again. and then we can go into settings. In settings, we can change sleep mode, display widgets, date and time, language. The SD card can be formatted here. I don't currently have one in there, and you can also restore factory settings. Okay, so I hope that this, we just go over to the side until we're at the square with the arrow pointing to the left. That gets you back out to your regular live view. So I hope this was helpful to go over the features and specs and to see kind of what the hardware and software user interface looks like for the scope. Next, I'm going to put the scope back on the rifle. We're going to take this scope out into the field and do some experiments and shooting. Well, here it is. You might notice something a little bit different about this rifle. That's right. Since we filmed the last part and now I actually completely reconfigured this rifle. This is not a 6 arc anymore. This is a 22 arc. That's right, I just finished this. Really excited about it. It seems to be shooting really good so far. And in terms of shooting with the ThOR LTV, that was still while it was a 6 arc. Just got this rifle put together today. And so I started at 50 yards, and my trick, like a lot of guys, is to use a hand warmer. And I stapled it to the back of a piece of cardboard, cut a little hole through. Kind of didn't matter, the whole part, because the heat comes through the cardboard, and you know, you got a spot about that big to aim at. But nonetheless, that was enough to get on paper, as it were, and use the one-shot 0 to 0 at 50. Then I went up to our mid-mountain range where we have 100 yards set up, and I stapled a hand warmer to a sheet of 8.5 by 11 paper at 100 yards, and was not that far off. So I did the one-shot 0, confirmed a couple times, and got a really good 0 at 100 yards. And then I'm thinking, man, I hope a coyote walks by. That did not happen yet, okay? But I did go up to the ridge line, and I used a propane torch to heat up a couple of our rock chuck targets from the Rock Chuck Olympics and shot off the barricade. Now the funny thing was, see this, how it says 224 Valkyrie? Well, I wasn't using this magazine. I was using a regular 308 magazine. So I had a little bit of trouble. You might notice in that section of the video, I had to kind of hold the rifle up to get it to feed because I did not have the right magazine. This magazine has the Primal Rights conversion kit for 224 Valkyrie, which works great. 0 modifications required for 6 arc. It also worked for the 22 arc, just so that you know that. Really great rifle, great balance, and the thermal just unlocks a whole new capability. I mean, this thing is absolutely amazing. One of the tests that I did was to get my dog Dennis, tied him up at 100 yards at night, and then I took a look through the ThOR LTV, got a good focus, and just to kind of see what, you know, it would be like to be hunting at 100 yards away from a coyote. And wow, was it super easy to see the dog. I mean, it kind of is obvious because the dog is hot, everything around it is cold, it happened to be snowy in the surrounding areas. This is a totally killer setup. Really looking forward to trying this out. So what you're going to want to do is make sure that you check out all the follow-up action for the 22 arc stuff. That's going to be really fun, definitely. But when I was looking at the dog at 100 yards, I also cycled through some of the color modes. I actually like quite a few of the color modes, and I think they all work very well, and it's really a matter of personal preference which one that you're going to use at night. So I hope the image quality samples give you an idea of what you're going to see. The 100-yard sight in, the shooting of the seal targets, that was at about 80 yards off of the barricade. And then also the dog footage at night. Definitely, you know, for a more value-priced unit, this is totally able to get the job done. If you step up to a higher-end product in the ATN portfolio, you're definitely going to see a lot more clarity. But that doesn't necessarily mean you're going to get any more coyotes. It might enhance things at range a bit, that sort of thing. But yeah, this scope is going to get the job done, and it's at a very reasonable price point in a comparative sense. Like I said, when I initially mounted it in the rings, I had it a little bit low, and I had a little bit of interference right here between the bolt handle and the eyepiece. It's kind of a F.A.T. eyepiece. So you're going to want to be aware of that when you put together a rig with the ThOR LTV. I'm hoping to have more content to share with some hunting success. That would be really good. What I'd like to know from you all is, do you have a Thor LTV? What kind of luck have you had with it, and what kind of hunting have you done? Drop a comment and let's start that discussion. Tell me a little bit about your rig as well. What kind of cartridge are you shooting? Is it a semi-auto? Is it an AR? Or is it a bolt gun like this one? I'd love to know what you all are having success with. Appreciate you watching this video. It's been a lot of fun to put this stuff together, and I'm just hoping I have some tremendous success with the night coyote hunting. It's going to be super, super fun. Anyhow, thank you again for watching. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you want to learn lucrative gunsmithing like what I show here on the channel, including building custom rifles and Cerakote plus a whole bunch more, you're going to want to check out the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. Thanks again for watching.